Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Living and Loving with me, country music singer, songwriter, Monique McCall, recording artist. And today I have a very super awesome guest. So blessed to have met him. He's the author of 16 best-selling children's books, the What Is series. He is the owner of a famous publishing company, Veronica Lane Books, a former owner of a restaurant, a chef, art dealer from Bronx, New York, a man of many talents. Please welcome today, Mr. Etan Boritzer. How are you, Etan?
Thank you, God, Monique. I'm well, and always great to see you and be here with you.
Always good to be seen, especially in these times.
Yes. But as Patricia, my wife, says, better be looking down at the daisies than up at the daisies.
Exactly. I agree wholeheartedly, and I love your wife, and we're going to talk a little bit about her in a bit. But I wanted to just see what are you doing these days, Etan? You're out, you're living, you're loving, you're writing all these children's books, you're publishing books, you've got so much going on. Tell me about that.
Well, first of all, as you know, we moved from Los Angeles about 4 months ago, Juno Beach. We're loving it. We live right on the beach, so we are very grateful. Thank you, God. Everything is going really well in our personal lives, and we're publishing different authors' works. And if I may say, we'll be working with you, Monique, on your children's book.
Of course, I'm so excited.
Yeah, doing the illustrations with you and based on your concepts. So the publishing company has been going since 1992. And the way that started was out of my own frustration. My first children's book, which is called What Is God, I wrote it in 1975, and it was published only in 1990, 15 years later, by a traditional publisher. So it was an arduous journey. And by the grace of God, I met this kind of maverick publisher who understood it and published it. But the second book in the series, which is called What Is Love, I was still having problems with these publishers. So I decided to form my own company, my own publishing company, to have the creative control and be able to churn out 1 or 2 books a year like that. And by the grace of God, it's all worked out. And then other people came to me and said, hey, how do you do this? Hey, can you help me? And whoop.
We're good. Go ahead.
So that's been the trajectory, up through, I don't know, I just covered about 30 or 40 years, but
I know. And what comes up for me in talking to you is that you had so much persistence. Was there ever a time that you were like, I give up, I just can't continue this process, as you were trying to find a publisher for that first book?
Well, you're right. I mean, if you're going that traditional route as an author, you have to go through finding a literary agent first, because the publishers will not take an unsolicited manuscript. So that in itself can be a years-long process, because they're not that interested in first-time authors unless you've got 200,000 Instagram followers. Then the agent may be interested in you. Then she may be able to get a publisher interested in you. And it was extremely frustrating. Luckily, it wasn't the only thing I was doing in my life, but I carried that manuscript around, like I said, for 15 years. And I believed in it because I knew there was nothing else on the market like it. Okay. It was the first all-denominational approach. Thank you.
And this is it right here, right?
Yes. So I had over What Is God is the first really all denominational book where we talk about Jesus, we talk about Muhammad, we talk about Moses, we talk about Buddha. So we try to really give the child a real overview of the different ways that God is looked at by different cultures and different people, but yet there is a unifying place where that all comes together. And this was a radical idea in the 1970s, mid 75.
But today it's much more accepted. So what is that unifying place?
Oh my God, we'd have to close our eyes, you know what I mean, to know what that place is. But I've been a yoga teacher for many years. I studied meditation, and I've read the New Testament, the Old Testament. I'm actually a lay scholar of the Buddhist teachings, so I have studied, and what it is, I mean, how can you express it in words? But I say it. It is an intelligence. There is an order, and we, in our limited, with our senses and our mind, cannot really comprehend all of that order that is out there, and how it was created, and how it is being maintained, and how it is continuously expanding. So it ties in with physics. I'm a student of physics too.
Energy and yes.
Metaphysics and physics. The Dalai Lama says more and more the metaphysicians are starting to sound like religious people starting to sound like metaphysicians. I mean, like physicists.
Physicists, yeah. It's finally all together, right?
Yes, science and mind, science and consciousness, science and God, Allah, whatever you want to call it, Jehovah, is there. And what it is, you could put, in Hindu, they put the feminine on it. In the Judeo-Christian, they put the masculine, paternalistic on it. You could use whatever words you want about it, her, she, him, he. But what it is, and how to harmonize ourselves with the universe, call it the universe for now, so that we do have healthy lives, and people around us have healthy lives. So this has been my purview with that first book, and the rest of the series is more ways of coming to knowledge.
Exactly.
And wisdom and love and compassion and all of the highest ideals that we as humans espouse and can attain. We know that. We just watched a program on Mother Teresa the other night. I mean, it's doable. It really is doable.
It is doable, and all of these elements of your books are very important elements, to be grounded in life. What is a friend? I think these are great for adults as well, not only children. There's so many great messages in here. And the beauty of your books, Etan, is that I understand you have them in 17 languages.
Yes, by the grace of God, the universality of these themes. It doesn't matter if you're a Chinese child, what is a friend or what is love? These are issues, whether you're an Indian child or a German child or a Bosnian or Turkish child, that you want to talk about. One day she's my friend, but the next day she's not my friend. So what is a friend? Yeah, so we want to and of course, we as adults have lost friends that we thought were friends, or even love relationships and so on. So my books, I hope to develop critical thinking skills with our children and what's called social emotional intelligence. And that leads us to greater.
I talk about this all the time, especially with my children, that, the IQ, well, the EQ is just as important as the IQ.
Yes.
And it's when you have that fine balance that I think life is much more easy to navigate.
Absolutely. And even studies I've read, educational studies show that happier children do better academically. If the child is emotionally not doing well at home, let's say, and so on, they're not going to do well in school. So it does, it really precedes the EQ is actually what is the basis of real IQ. And then we have to define what is real IQ as well.
I agree. And, I think that our education systems have been so focused for so many years on just the IQ, but I even feel now we're still so focused on the testing and the IQ, and we're missing this really important element. And I know we're so blessed to have someone like you that's sharing this message, because you're out there, you're trying to get into schools, you're trying to really share your What Is series and let people know that this is sort of the basis of even building upon your IQ and your intelligence, because the EQ is a great foundation of that. And I feel like in some senses that it's the driver, because it's what, when I feel for myself personally, when things are in balance in my life emotionally, then I can think more clearly.
Yeah, you're more creative, you're more productive, you're freer, you're more social, you're not thinking about that problem and so on and so on. And then how do we then approach those questions? And people, well, there's divorce. So how do we talk about that with a child? There's death. My first best-selling book is What is God? Second best-selling book is What is Death? Okay, so how are we going to deal with the child's grief? Okay,
Well,
and
that's
we
our
know.
two great life mysteries.
Yeah, what is love? This is a very important. We talk about, but so it's not just esoteric stuff. It's what is money? I don't know if you can see it, but what is money? I
Yes.
mean, but in what is money, we're also talking about the emotional aspect of money. How much money do you need to be happy? What else can you do with money besides buy more games and toys and dresses? And what if you don't have money? Can you still be happy? So, and it's interesting because how many people say, well, my grandchild, she's being raised in a very wealthy home and she needs this book because she doesn't understand the value of money. So on all levels, I'm saying this EQ comes in. What we might think, oh, money, well, that's so mundane, it's just math, money, but no, there's so much energy obviously attached to money.
So you were way ahead of the curve. You've been sharing this message for such a long time. Why do you think that, being the advanced beings that we are, we haven't been able to put the two together, and we're just starting to somewhat now?
In one word, Monique, the answer is fear. I think parents are afraid to talk to their children about death, or they don't know how. They may be ignorant of how to talk about a subject like death, or they really don't know how to talk about money. Even you save your money and then you go to college and that, okay, right? I'll give you one example on the What is Death. I was at a book fair. I go to a lot of book fairs, and there was actually, this was sort of a street fair. So there were different types of vendors and booths next to me. And there was a woman, MD. Okay, she's a doctor, and she's talking about her kinesthesiology, or I forget what her program was. And her son, who's 10 years old, is wandering around. So I say, hey, man, come on over here. Hey, pick a book while your mom's working. Just sit over here, read a book. He was like, yeah. And so, of course, what is the book he picks? 10-year-old boys are into morbidity. They like scary stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, he picks What is Death?
Okay.
So then he's reading it. Then he goes back to mom. He says, Mom, can we buy this book? And she looks at it and she goes, no, we're not buying this book. We know what happens after you die. You go to heaven and you meet Jesus. So go pick out another book.
Wow. So
when we're talking about fear or ignorance, why are these subjects not being introduced? So I always say these books are used as what's called third-party agencies. So psychologists use my book, marriage family therapists, teachers, counselors use my book, because now you're talking about a serious subject, but it's not what I, mom, or what I, dad, think about this subject. Now we're going to see, what does this author say about it? So it removes it a little bit. Right. Well, Mom, you always say that. Oh, Mom, I don't know. Because you're the mom. Now you can say, well, this is what he said. What do you think about that, Junior? Then you get into that discussion. Well, he said this. Do you believe that? Or have you ever experienced that?
And it's creating that dialogue that's really hard. And you're doing a great job of that through your books and the message you're spreading. You have so many What Is books. Do you have What Is Forgiveness?
That's a good title. People keep giving me the best titles. I have 10 other titles, of course, but moms come up to me, teachers come up to me and give me. A teacher came up. My next to the last book is called What is Respect? And she said, you need to write a book on respect. Kids don't understand the concept of respect. I go, wow, I didn't even think of that. That's a great title. So what is forgiveness? That's a very, very important one, of course.
It's such an important element. I think it's a really hard one for people because it's so hard to forgive when something has happened in your life that wasn't warranted. And so to understand what that balance is for children, even for adults, I think it's a real tough struggle. So, hey.
Well, one thing I tell, even that teacher who told me, right, in a way, kind of, I go, well, that's a great title. Why don't you write it? So I'm telling you, Monique, why don't you write that one? Because you have ideas. I'll work with you as your editor. But
I'd love to write that one. But actually,
right?
there's another one that I would love, though, because I
Right.
feel very strongly about this, that we don't really have a lot of organizations focusing on self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that is such a big element of life. What is self-reflection?
Yeah, well, that's a good one. I mean, I call it meditation, and learning the different techniques there are, which
Mhm.
allow you to sit and observe your own mind,
Yeah.
which a lot of people don't want to do because there's, excuse me, crazy shit happening in there. And, my wife Patricia is a dream analyst, as you know.
Yes.
So the mind, especially in the subconscious, is bringing out. So we need to reflect, like you're saying, on what is this that is going on in there. Where does it come from? How does it affect me? How does it affect others around me? But this is, unfortunately, very few schools teach meditation, which is not religious. Has nothing to do with Buddhism, nothing to do with anything. It's just like sitting there, observing your breath, and just watching what's going on in there.
Yes.
And with some guidance too. But
Of course, and I know Patricia takes it even a step further because she helps you reflect on your dreams, which is incredible. I learned so much from her. I was so blessed to have her on the podcast. So certainly a dynamic duo you are.
Thank you. Well, in my books, and I do talk about various, I do talk about meditation in the book, like when you're angry and your friends hurt you and so on, maybe it's time to sit down for a minute, and close your eyes and really breathe and think about what just happened and talk to an adult about it too. So try to be practical. But the biggest complaint about my book, Monique, has been, the what is. There's a lot of questions embedded in the text. Okay, what if we do this? How would you feel if that happened? And they go like, you give a lot of questions, but you don't give that many answers. And I say, it's not my job to give answers. I'm not an expert at death. I'm not an expert in any of this stuff, but I do see the realm of the questions that we can ask and get into it with the parent, with the teacher. Even, a lot of my books are used in churches, temples, et cetera, too. So that opens up the critical thinking skills to the child has to give us the answer. Maria Montessori, a great of the Montessori schools, one of her axioms was follow the child. Follow the child. What does the child want to know? What questions is the child asking? Don't teach.
The child will lead you to the answers. That's a very
and that develops their own thinking abilities. If you give them answers, then they can memorize the answer, but they haven't really examined it.
Well, and if you think for a child, then they can't be autonomous. They can't think for themselves.
Right, and that's the beginning of fascism. When we don't think, or we're dictated as to what to think, and we accept that, then you can be controlled, and force of people can then march forward with that same simplistic idea. And that's why they don't want you to think. Communists or and so the fascists, people who are dictatorial, they don't want you to question. And my books are all, again, back to the questions. This
Yes.
question authority. When I was a hippie, that was a bumper sticker you saw everywhere. Question authority. You know what I mean? And that is true. That is true. We don't, and that's what I try to encourage the children, girls, boys, early on. Question authority. Even within the family, you know, I wrote a book called "What Is a Family," and I do a lot of studying on these subjects, like so that it's not Etan's opinion. You know what I mean on the subject. And this blew my mind. This French philosopher, who always can be out there a little bit, he said the beginning of fascism, you know, which is thought control, the beginning of fascism is in the family itself.
Yes.
In other words, you have to obey dad, whether you respect him or you agree with him or not, you know, and that's a form of control.
Yes.
Dad is feeding you, dad is housing, or mom, you know, it could be a mom too, who becomes dictatorial in that way. So we have to teach this thinking. Thinking is dangerous. You know.
Thinking is dangerous, but thinking is also a big part, a large part of who we are.
Yeah, and not thinking is more dangerous, is what I'm saying.
Yes, it absolutely is. I mean, I think that thinking has to come from within. When the thinking comes from the outside, meaning you're grabbing everything from the outside and your thinking becomes focused on everything outside of you, that's when you get in trouble.
Yeah, we have to realize, and this is what the Buddha taught, is that everything is impermanent. So as you're viewing whatever's going on, just keep that in the back of your mind too. As you're getting upset, you're getting angry about this event or that event you just read about, and so on. That's fine. You're engaged, you know, in the worldly, moment by moment, day by day. But at the same time, there's an absolute view of things, which is that change continues. Things look bad, then they get better. Things look good, then they get worse, you know, and you have to keep that helps you keep a certain balance from this onslaught we're getting, and the children especially, you know, who don't know how to filter. That my book, What is True, is about that, how we teach discernment to our children, so that the news that comes in, okay, Santa Claus is going to come down the chimney and give us presents. Okay, we're not trying to take away fairy tales and like that, but at a certain point, we're also trying to think about what we accept as truths. So at one point, we believed the earth was flat. Now we know that the earth is round. So is what is true always true? Or is what is true can change? That's thinking. That's
and everything can change. I'm sure you know this from all your time on this planet.
71 years old, so I see things, and the thing is that we understand that you and I as humans, we don't have a God's eye view of things. You know, and that's a philosophical point, is the God's eye view. We think we know it. We have an opinion. We have an argument. We have a logic, you know, that we have created to say this is the way it is. Don't you get it? This is so easy because this, and you build up a whole system around it. But yet we don't have a God's eye view. It may be that today or this year, but then you see history and it has changed. This is hard stuff to teach children. It's hard enough to teach adults, but my purview has always been, I don't have that much faith in adults. You know?
I'm with you there.
I have more faith
the less faith I have.
You know, like maybe the next generation of leaders will see things in a more enlightened, a larger, more integrated, complementary way.
Yeah, well, the children are our future.
Yeah, and Audrey Hepburn said, when she was a Goodwill ambassador of UNICEF, she said, children are the only hope.
Yes.
And that's real. I quote that in my books too, but I'm saying that's why it's always been more interesting to me, even though I've been a yoga teacher, meditation teacher with adults, but also with children too. I still see the plasticity of the brain. When you're a child, you actually have more neurons. They've shown this than you do as an adult. The body starts what they call a pruning process, because there's just too much information. And so as humans, we need to categorize and organize all this information. And in the dreams, as Patricia teaches, it's a certain kind of a psychic cleansing of all that info that is coming in.
Oh, that's coming in. Now, so talking about that, to go a little bit deeper, I've been working with children my whole life. I worked with children with special needs for 11 years of my life. And then, of course, raising 2 little girls. And I feel like children, and I don't know this for certain, but they have so much more knowledge when they're younger, especially from a spiritual sense and from the what is sense, because that's what you call it, the what is. And they can connect more easily with the EQ. But I feel like as parents and as adults that we shut them down, and then something changes for them on the EQ level, that they're not able to tap into the things that they can hear around them that we don't hear anymore, because we now have been shut down as well from our parents and other those that came before us. So, for example, my older daughter, Francesca, when she was really little, we lived in Italy and we were walking through Milan. And she looks at me and she starts whispering. I mean, she's like 3 years old, and she says, "Mom, did you hear that?" And I said, "What?" She said, "Mom, somebody just whispered Jesus, Jesus, Jesus in my ear." And I said, "Francesca, what?" And I look up and we're standing in front of a real historic church. And she goes, and she's whispering, "There it is again. They said Jesus, Jesus, Jesus." And so from that moment on, I thought, wow, I could have handled that in multiple ways. I could have been like, "That didn't happen. You're just hearing things," which is what I know my parents would have said to me, because it's natural for a parent to say, "What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind?" But instead I said, "Oh, did they say anything else?" And she said, "No, they just said that." So sometimes I wonder if, as parents, when these things pop up, if we were to go along with it, would we be able to keep our children growing and their EQ growing quicker if we were actually understanding that there is a bigger world out there? These things are really true and they're really happening. And I know that she heard that. She didn't just make that up. That was,
of course.
genuine.
No, of course, that's real. Yeah, and there's a great book called The Secret Spiritual Life of Children. A psychologist in Georgia gathered case studies just like that of 3-year-olds, stories like that, but told to him by his adult clients, and say, "I've never told anybody this. I tried to tell my parents. They told me, you're dreaming, you're making this stuff up. It doesn't exist." So why is that? Because we're pruning and trying to get our kids safe and into the workforce and have a what we think happy life. But yes, when they come out of the womb, there are some genetic markers, obviously, physical, psychological, that's been shown too. But on another level, they are spiritual beings when they come out. And someone said, you have to teach a child to hate. They don't come out hating Black people or hating this group or hating that group. You have to teach them everything. And they're going to get it by a glance of the eye, a movement of the head. They're so hypersensitive.
Well, sometimes the nonverbal says more than the verbal.
The gestures, the postures, they are reading things like because they don't have the language skills, they don't have the filtering skills.
Mm-hmm.
So they are so impressionable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a mom, you have to, like, every word they're going to hear. If you're cursing and then you hear her cursing a few days later, where did she get that? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, you don't say that. Well, I
Well, how
heard
much
you.
do you think is learned and how much is
That's
just
the big debate. That is the big debate. You know what I mean? Because sure,
genetic?
like Mozart, okay, he was composing when he was 5 years old, but his
Mhm.
dad was a master musician too.
Mhm.
So somehow maybe there was some genetic that way.
Predisposition. Mhm.
Yeah, there was some transition to genetically, and other people used to be, they say, well, it's a tabula rasa. You know, a child comes out completely blank, and everything you load into that child, that's what you're going to get, you know.
Right.
So it's, that debate has gone on and on. I believe it's both, actually, you know, that
Mhm.
there are certain genetic markers, and but we found with this new science of epigenetics in the last 20 years that even genes can be changed by behavior. You
Mhm.
know, one famous study is about breast cancer. There's a certain gene, I can't remember what the B something gene.
Yeah, the something receptor, yeah, the
Yeah.
BC. Yes.
Okay. And so, how is it that some women carry this around but do not develop breast cancer while other women do? Okay. And the only thing that they can see is the environmental aspect, how they live their lives. If you
Yeah.
live life in stress, anxiety, fears, etc.,
Mhm.
you're more likely to activate those
Mhm.
genes. That's the only answer that they've been able to come up with, really. So
Mhm.
we believe that you may come out of the womb with genetic markers, but, and this is the bigger philosophical debate, you know, free will versus determinism.
Mhm.
You know, what's predetermined?
Right.
People say God's plan, whatever you want to call it. Okay. The Buddhists
Yes.
call it the Dharma. You know,
Mhm.
what is, or karma, they call it. You know, what is your, what is the plan? And how much free will choice do we have? And the effect of choice on the deterministic factors. So there's
Mhm.
both. And but who's going to sit here like you and I and discuss these matters?
We are, because we're living and loving.
That's
So
right. You know.
so how much does this all sum up into that loving piece?
Yeah, I think you have to be contemplative in that way, like you say, reflective in that way. The teachings are out there, and there have been great masters, whatever you want to call them,
Mhm.
avatars, Jesus, Buddha, Moses, Muhammad. There have been people who have seen a God's eye view of things. You know, only a few people. But so their teachings are out there, and you read them, you contemplate them, and you see, how can I integrate this, you know, into my life, or into my child's life, into my family's life. I think that it's our responsibility not just to earn money and have a great life. That's part of it, of course, but to see the larger picture. How are we
Mhm.
going to heal our country, all the divisions in our country, and the world problems in the world of hunger, of et cetera, you know, political
And the
refuge.
biggest piece is, how are we going to do that with love?
Yeah, that's the starting point. You know, that's my book, What is Love, is actually the third largest bestseller. And I write that it's about sharing, and it's about becoming sensitive in
Mhm.
those, you know, quaint, do unto others as you would have them do unto
Mhm.
you.
The
People
old
just,
golden rule.
yeah, it's there. The info is there. It's not
Mhm.
like we have to discover how to do this. Love is there. And what does that mean? Expansively, where you're a Mother Teresa and you pick up dirty, diseased bodies off the streets, you know, and you clean them and you wash them and you give them food, and you try to, you know, or people dying, you pick them up and you take them to the center. So that kind of love we're talking about, even, of course, loving our families and friends and so on, but how
Mhm.
can we expand that even?
Mhm.
Yeah, and you're on the right, you know, I love your your theme,
Yeah,
living and living.
we got to keep that love flowing.
Yeah,
That,
yeah, yeah. And it's not easy. You got to keep reminding yourself, hey, even though that person just said that, even though this is, I feel this, but you still have to figure out, well, can I take this to another level now? This anger, whatever it is.
Well, the new song I wrote, one of the lines in it, I'll be recording in November. The line is, say what comes, but only with love.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because we can hurt people with words. Really can hurt people. You can hurt people with your mental thoughts too. There's a subtle layer of that, but your words, like you're saying, say it with love. Don't say it with anger. You may feel angry, but again, you take that breath. Okay, and try to be more human than animal reactive. That's a great one. You're teaching through your songs.
Yes, well, I think that's what we're here to do. We're here to teach. We're here to share the message of living, loving, and you are doing it so well. I mean, 16 best-selling books. I really need to know what separates a best-selling author, beside great marketing, but what separates a best-selling author, especially children's author, from...
Yeah. Well, there are these markers, in other words, to get to the bottom of the bestseller list, let's say any New York Times, whatever bestseller, LA Times, you have to sell at least 65,000 books. Okay, which is a big number. It doesn't sound like when Hillary Clinton sells 1 million books, and how many books did Monica Lewinsky sell? And so we're not talking about the values of the books, and then there's another parameter, which is that you have to sell 9,000 books in your first week of publication to get on the list, and then keep selling at that pace to stay on the list, and you might go down the list. So I've done well over those numbers, domestically in the US, but also internationally. So I qualify for that.
Good for you. Well, you should more than qualify. I think everybody needs to have your series. Now, where can they find your books?
Well, Amazon, you can put in my name. I guess it may be on the screen, my name. Just go to Amazon, and the titles, it's interesting. Titles are not copyrightable. So there is a number of What is Love books that you can purchase. And now there's a few What is God books out there too. But if you Google my name, Etan Boritzer, that's the easiest way to go to Amazon and purchase the books. Sure. And I do school readings. I come Author's Day. I do parent-teacher programs. So if anyone's interested, I'm available. Thank God.
You can come over tonight.
Okay. Bring a bunch of people. We'll talk.
Family sessions.
Yeah, we'll read together.
All right, so it just came to me. I want to play a little game with you, Etan. Do you mind?
Please. Oh, please. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have your list of what is here. I'm going to go through each one with you.
Okay.
But in one quick sentence, sum up the what is. So not the whole story, but I want to see how we do on this. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. I'm ready. Go ahead.
Okay, what is God?
What is God is an all-denominational look at the subject of God.
Love it. What is respect?
What is respect is about how we treat each other.
What is true?
What is true is about discernment, how we see the world and try to separate what appears to be true and what may be underlying truths.
What is a family?
What is a family is a complete overview of all the beautiful things in the family, but also some of the troubling things in the family: domestic violence, divorce, abuse, neglect. So, Bill, we talk about it all.
What is beautiful?
What is beautiful is about what is a beauty inside. What makes a person beautiful on the inside? And this is particularly important for girls. I have a lot of Elle magazine, loved that book. Allure magazine, I got very good reviews. But fashion industry, that's a
Mhm.
feminine, more written for girls. Yes.
What is a feeling?
What is a feeling is how we react emotionally so that we don't hurt ourselves or that we don't hurt others.
What is money?
What is money is about the true value of money. How much money do you need to be happy? How much money do you need to do things besides buying games and toys?
What is death?
What is death is about how we live on forever, in short.
What is a friend?
What is a friend is learning early socialization skills.
What is dreaming?
What is dreaming is about what happens at night in our minds that sometimes are scary and sometimes are fun. And what do dreams really mean?
And all dreams wish us well, according to your beautiful wife, Patricia. What
Indeed.
is peace?
What is peace is an inner quality, how we find peace within ourselves, which then leads to peace outside of ourselves.
What is funny?
What is funny and what is not funny. So we're talking about this perception. If I slip on a banana peel, is that funny? If you slip on a banana peel, is that funny? What is funny, really?
What is right?
What is right is about critical thinking skills. In other words, choices and decision making in everyday situations at school and outside of school.
And what is healthy?
What is healthy covers all aspects of health: bodily health, mental health, emotional health, even political health.
And my favorite, what is love?
What is
love to Etan Boritzer?
Love is the rainbow. Okay, that's why we have that the rainbow holds all the different emotions. So red is the color of anger, blue is the color of sadness, yellow is the color of happiness, right? So love holds all our emotions together in a beautiful way.
Love is the happy glue. Is that what you're saying?
That's a more succinct way. Yes, I use the image of the rainbow, but yeah, that is the glue that holds all the other emotions, and that is the biggest of the feelings and emotions that we have is love.
It absolutely is. I think all is contained within love.
Agreed. So
love is like the foundation.
Yeah, it is.
Create.
It is. I mean, it's not saying that it's an easy thing. Sometimes we love, but we don't get love back. So, but it is a constant of sorts. If we can hold on to that, then we can get through a lot.
I absolutely agree. So, what is the next book that you're going to write?
It's already written. I have to get it out, publish it. It's called What Is Me?
Ooh.
What is me? Let's look at what is me on the inside, on the outside, and so on.
I love that. That's like the song I just wrote. Living from the inside out. What is inside? I love that.
That's what we have to do. Look at the inside. Because that's what's going to be coming outside.
I agree wholeheartedly.
We're on the same page.
We are totally on the same wavelength. I'm so happy that you are here. You're now in the Juno Beach community. We're so blessed to have you here. Everyone needs to check you out on veronicalanebooks.com. They need to order your books, get the series for your children. Great Christmas presents. Christmas is coming up. The holidays are coming up. No matter what you celebrate, a great gift, to share the what is message. Thank you so much, Etan, for being here today. Before I let you go, I have one question for you that I ask all of my guests. And that is, as a country music singer-songwriter, I want to know, what is the one song that speaks to your heart and sums up the essence of your being?
Wow. I'm sorry, I'm not that familiar with country western, but
It's whatever you feel. It doesn't have to be country.
The one that still gets to me after, I don't know when it was, John Lennon, Imagine.
Oh, great song.
That still, even thinking about, gets me emotional in that way, because it is about love. It is about peace. It is about those beautiful things. So
all the beautiful things that truly make up life.
Yeah. And imagine the most ideal way that we could be. I think it's brilliant, and as a musician, I don't know what chord changes he used, but he definitely, there's certain chords, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Pull certain emotions.
Yeah, that cause the soul to resonate.
Yeah. So whatever they put together there, it definitely is on not an intellectual level. It definitely is on a physical audio level like that.
Most definitely. Can you sing a little for us?
I just remember the first line, imagine all the people living in a world. I don't remember all the lyrics, but it's like that,
Yeah.
You're the singer.
No. This is your show, Etan.
Well, here's a suggestion for you. How about the country western version of Imagine?
All right, I got to think if
Can
there's
that
already
be
one
done?
out there. It can be done. Anything can be done.
You
Actually,
I'm looking
forward to sharing my 2 new songs with you, because I think they're really going to resonate with your soul.
Well, you're a star. You are a star. And I mean it not, I don't mean it commercially in that way, which you are as well, but I mean, you're a star, luminous in that way. Your soul, your being, your work, your motherhood, all of it.
Well, you are a star because you're sharing the message and you're helping so many families, so many children. We're so blessed. Again, like I said, you moved here from California. I would have loved to have more time to talk to you about that too, and how you're loving living in sunny South Florida now. So
yeah, we're here permanently. We live right on the sand. We go out every day swimming, and the water temperature here is 85. In LA, it's 65. Just the water temperature. I mean, new friends. There's a certain order here, that we like. So we're permanent. Yeah.
Well, welcome to the neighborhood. Welcome to sunny South Florida. Thank you again for joining me, everyone. Etan Boritzer, just one of the most beautiful humans I've ever met, along with his wife, Patricia. Remember, keep imagining, keep the peace, ask the what is questions, ask your children the what is questions, get your children the what is series, ask yourself, what is me? Who am I? Again, I'm Monique McCall, country music singer, songwriter. On Living and Loving, I'm here every other Thursday at 4 p.m. on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Check me out and keep spreading the message of living and loving. Etan, you're a gift. Love you, man. You have a blessed day and give that beauty of yours.
Thank you, Monique.
Get out, everyone. Live and love.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
You take me there.